South Korea. Picture a nation slightly larger than Indiana, covered in mountains. Only about 22% of South Korea's land is suitable for farming. The country isn't blessed with abundant natural resources either. Coal reserves are meager, ranking 49th globally. Natural gas, they're 81st in the world. Logically, South Korea should be struggling, but it isn't, it's thriving. South Korea boasts the 10th largest economy globally. This economic miracle defies expectations. How did a nation so disadvantaged by geography achieve such remarkable prosperity? The answer in part lies with a single company, Samsung. Before the Republic of Korea, before the Korean War, there was a small grocery store in Daegu. Samsung, it was called. In 1938, its founder, Lee Byung-chul, couldn't have foreseen the future. His humble business would become the backbone of one of the 20th century's most dramatic economic transformations. By 1950, the Korean peninsula was engulfed in a brutal civil war. The Communist North, backed by China and the Soviet Union, launched a surprise attack. South Korea, supported by the United Nations, fought back fiercely. The war ravaged the peninsula, leaving both sides in ruins. Yet from the ashes of war, a new South Korea began to emerge. The war's end in 1953 marked the beginning of South Korea's economic transformation. In the war's aftermath, South Korea was a nation in dire straits. Its industrial base was shattered. Poverty was widespread, but amidst the devastation, entrepreneurs like Lee Byung-chul saw opportunity. In 1953, he established Cheiljedang, a sugar refinery. The following year, he launched Cheilmojik, a wool mill. These ventures laid the foundation for the Samsung Group. With limited competition in a war-torn nation, Samsung flourished. Samsung's close ties to the government proved advantageous. The company secured lucrative contracts and preferential treatment. In the following years, Samsung diversified its holdings. By the late 1950s, Samsung had become South Korea's most powerful chaebol. Despite Samsung's success, South Korea remained largely underdeveloped. In 1961, a military coup led by Park Chung-hee ushered in a new era. Park's policies, though authoritarian, spurred rapid economic growth. The Korean War, while devastating, inadvertently laid the groundwork for Samsung's meteoric rise. Lee Byung-chul, with his keen business acumen, capitalized on these opportunities. Leveraging leftover Japanese colonial assets, Lee expanded Samsung into various industries. President Syngman Rhee's policies further facilitated Samsung's growth. Samsung's rapid expansion continued throughout the 1950s and 1960s. This diversification strategy, coupled with government support, fueled Samsung's growth. Park Chung-hee, who seized power in a 1961 coup, implemented a series of economic reforms. Recognizing the nation's limited resources, Park adopted an export-oriented growth strategy. Park's government actively promoted the growth of Chaebols, viewing them as engines of economic development. He provided them with financial incentives, including subsidized loans and tax breaks. These policies, while controversial, proved highly effective in stimulating industrial growth. The Chaebols invested heavily in expanding their production capacity. This rapid industrialization led to a surge in exports, driving South Korea's economic growth. The Chaebols, led by Samsung, played a pivotal role in South Korea's export-led growth. They produced a wide range of goods, from consumer electronics to automobiles and ships. Samsung, in particular, emerged as a global leader in electronics. The company invested heavily in research and development, producing innovative products. The Chaebol's dominance in the Korean economy had far-reaching consequences. They became deeply intertwined with the government, influencing policy decisions. The Chaebols created millions of jobs, raising living standards and transforming the country. Samsung's influence permeated every aspect of South Korean life. From smartphones to life insurance, from shipbuilding to theme parks, Samsung's presence was ubiquitous. This deep integration into the fabric of Korean society solidified Samsung's position as a national institution. The Lee family maintained a tight grip on the conglomerate through a complex web of ownership. Samsung's dominance in the Korean economy created a unique social phenomenon. The pursuit of a job at Samsung became a national obsession. Park Chung-hee, the military leader who seized power in 1961, envisioned a transformed South Korea. He saw a nation that could rise from the ashes of war and become a global economic powerhouse. Park's economic strategy centered on export-oriented industrialization. He recognized that South Korea could compete in the global market by producing high-quality goods at competitive prices. Park's government actively supported the growth of Chaebols, recognizing their potential to drive economic growth. The Chaebols invested heavily in new technologies and expanded their production capacity. This rapid industrialization led to a surge in exports, driving South Korea's economic growth. The Chaebols, led by Samsung, became the engines of South Korea's economic miracle. They produced a wide range of goods, from electronics and automobiles to ships and construction materials. Samsung, with its focus on innovation and quality, quickly emerged as a global leader in electronics. The Chaebols' rapid growth also had a profound impact on South Korean society. They created millions of jobs, lifting many out of poverty and creating a new middle class. The Chaebols also played a key role in developing South Korea's infrastructure. Park Chung-hee's economic policies, while successful in achieving rapid growth, also came at a cost. The close relationship between the government and the Chaebols raised concerns about cronyism and corruption. The Chaebols' dominance in the Korean economy also led to concerns about the concentration of economic power. This inequality fueled social tensions and led to calls for greater economic fairness. The rapid industrialization also had environmental consequences. The government's focus on economic growth often came at the expense of workers' rights and well-being. Despite the challenges and controversies, Park Chung-hee's economic policies transformed South Korea. The nation went from being a war-torn, impoverished country to a modern industrial powerhouse in just a few decades. The rise of the Chaebols, while controversial, played a crucial role in this transformation. Samsung, in particular, became a symbol of South Korea's technological prowess and its emergence as a global economic player. The economic miracle also had a profound impact on Korean society. South Koreans enjoyed a level of prosperity that was unimaginable just a few decades earlier. South Korea's rapid economic transformation had a profound impact on its society. The rise of the Chaebols, particularly Samsung, created a new aspirational figure, the Samsung man. This idealized figure represented the pinnacle of success, a symbol of intelligence, hard work, and social status. The pursuit of a job at Samsung became a national obsession. Students dedicated years to preparing for the grueling Samsung aptitude test. The competition was fierce. Only a small fraction of applicants passed the test. The Samsung man became a symbol of parental ambition, a tangible representation of upward mobility and social status. Samsung's influence extended far beyond the corporate world. The company's ubiquitous presence in South Korean life blurred the lines between corporation and nation. Samsung products and services were everywhere, from smartphones and appliances to insurance and shipbuilding. This pervasive presence created a sense of national identity intertwined with the corporate brand. When South Koreans bought a smartphone, they bought a Samsung. When they needed life insurance, they chose Samsung. When they took a ferry, they sailed on a Samsung-built vessel. Even their leisure time was spent at Samsung theme parks. This deep integration of Samsung into everyday life reinforced the company's status as a national institution. This intimate relationship with the corporation was unlike anything seen in other advanced economies. Samsung accounted for a staggering 20% of South Korea's GDP, a figure that dwarfed the contributions of even the largest companies in other countries. This economic dominance cemented Samsung's position as a pillar of the Korean economy. The government's reliance on Samsung for economic growth further solidified this unique relationship. Samsung's success was seen as essential to the nation's prosperity, creating a symbiotic relationship between corporation and state. This interdependence raised concerns about the potential for undue corporate influence on government policy. The Lee family, the founders of Samsung, maintained a tight grip on the vast conglomerate through a complex and opaque ownership structure. This intricate web of cross-ownership and interlocking directorates allowed the family to control the sprawling empire despite holding a relatively small direct stake. This ownership structure, often described as convoluted and difficult to decipher, was a key factor in the Lee family's enduring control. It allowed them to exert influence over the numerous Samsung affiliates, ensuring their continued dominance over the conglomerate. This complex structure also made it difficult for outside investors to challenge the Lee family's control. The opacity of the ownership web obscured the true extent of the family's influence, making it challenging to hold them accountable. This concentration of power in the hands of a single family raised concerns about corporate governance and the potential for conflicts of interest. Critics argued that this lack of transparency and accountability could undermine the principles of fair competition and market efficiency. The seemingly impenetrable fortress of Samsung's ownership, a complex web meticulously woven over decades, had a critical vulnerability: South Korean inheritance law. With one of the highest inheritance tax rates globally at 50%, the transfer of wealth posed a significant threat to the Lee family's control. Each succession presented a potential unraveling of their empire. This threat became reality in 2014 when Lee Kun-hee suffered a debilitating heart attack. His sudden incapacitations plunged the family into crisis. The prospect of his demise and the inheritance tax bill threatened to dismantle their ownership structure and loosen their grip on the conglomerate. As Lee Kun-hee lay comatose, his children scrambled to devise a plan to preserve their control. They needed to pay the hefty inheritance tax without relinquishing their grip on Samsung affiliates. The future of the Lee family's dynasty hung in the balance. Two key companies within the Samsung empire, Samsung C&T and Chaebol Industries, held crucial positions in the Lee family's ownership structure. These companies acted as de facto holding companies, controlling stakes in various Samsung affiliates. However, the family's control over C&T was weakening, with outside investors gaining influence. To consolidate their grip, the Lee family proposed a merger between C&T and Chaebol Industries. The terms of the merger were highly controversial. The proposed exchange ratio overvalued Chaebol Industries, benefiting the Lee family. Elliott Management, a major shareholder in C&T, opposed the merger. The National Pension Service, controlled by the government, voted in favor of the merger. This decision highlighted the close ties between the government and the Chaebols. South Korea's economic miracle is a story of remarkable transformation. From the ashes of war, the nation rose to become a global economic powerhouse. The Chaebols, particularly Samsung, played a pivotal role in this ascent. This success, however, raised concerns about corporate governance and social inequality. The close relationship between the government and the Chaebols created an environment ripe for cronyism. The succession crisis following Lee Kun-hee's illness exposed vulnerabilities. Today, South Korea stands at a crossroads. The legacy of its economic miracle is undeniable, but challenges remain. The dominance of the Chaebols and social inequality demand attention. The younger generation demands greater transparency and fairness. The future hinges on addressing these challenges. The nation's journey from poverty to prosperity is a testament to its resilience.